Hello everyone. The goal with this video is to show how to export an animat clip from Media Composer with Alpha so you can use it in another program. To do that, we'll use four programs. The first one is Media Composer. The second one is DaVinci Resolve. The third one is Shutter Encoder. And then finally, we use Titler Pro in order to test it. The process starts in Media Composer. We have a very simple Media Composer single monitor setup here. And we're going to add an animat cut to this globe here. We want to cut out this globe in order to use this element in other programs. So we'll drop animat down in there. Open up the effect editor and add an oval, a circle, best way we can. Right. Move it around. If you swap sources like this, it's easy to see the outside edges. So we'll go right about there, make it a little bit smaller. There we go, that's what we want right there. Okay, and we undo the swap sources, uncheck outside of animat, and right now if we export this out by going back into regular record playback mode, if we export this entire timeline out, we have a fill right here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to export this out. Right click, export, and we want it to be called Big Globe Fill. I've already got some there, so we'll just replace them. Yes, we want to replace it. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the animat effect like this. We're going to go to the V12 track here. We want to add this white track, this white piece of video right here, into the V12 track. So we'll do that. And immediately what happens, as you can see, is you now have a white on black image, and that's a matte. It's perfect. So we'll right click, export, we call it Big Globe Matte, and we save it. So now we have our first matte and our first fill, and we're off to DaVinci Resolve. So now we're in DaVinci Resolve, and it's time to make some timelines in order to make our clips. Remember, this is DaVinci Resolve 19. It's a free program, but you have to have at least version 19.14 on the PC and version 19.13 on the Mac in order to export out the ProRes files. Okay, so we're starting out. So we open up this project, Untitled Project, and the first thing we're going to do is go to our edit setting right here, and we're going to go to the media pool, and we'll right click and go to import media. We're going to find our two files here that we're going to use in order to make this file. We open them up and we drop the matte down here into V1. We drop the fill here into V2. You make sure the inspector window is open. Then you highlight V2, or the fill, excuse me, and you set that to foreground. You highlight the matte, you set that to Luma. If it doesn't look quite right, you may have to set it to inverted Luma, but most of the time Luma works fine. Okay, so then you highlight the timeline and you go to the Deliver module. So now we're going to save some custom exports so that we can save this in a way that the file that it exports out will have alpha. In order to do that, the first thing we're going to do is go over here to our setting over here under Custom Export. We want a single clip. We want it to be QuickTime, Apple ProRes 4444, not 444, but 4444, and we want the alpha to be exported. Now that we've got that, we come up here and we go to Save as a new preset. And we're going to write down ProRes 4444 with alpha. Okay, we're going to save it. Then we're going to make one small change, and that is when we want to go to the very, very finest files that need the highest bit rate. We go to Apple ProRes 444XQ, and we do another saving as a preset. We call it ProRes 4444 XQ. That's right, we should say with alpha. With alpha. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we have these two presets, and what we're going to use is this, and you can see them on a drop-down list here, by the way. So we'll use this one, the ProRes 444 with alpha, and we've highlighted the timeline. We now have it set on all of these settings, which is super easy now, but we're going to have to find a name for it. So what are we going to call it? We're going to call it Big Globe Clean. And where we're going to put it, it's a project I have set up for this. Media, video, okay. Alright, so resolve exports, that's where it's going, and we save it there. Alright, so we've got Big Globe Clean. We like what we're doing. We've got it set up with the correct settings here, the alphas, exporting, and so on and so forth. Add it to the render queue, click on it here, render it out, and with that, you're done. This file has full alpha and completely be used in any other program. We're going to test it. We're going to add a shape, a rectangle, and we're going to see if our file worked. Up here, change it to image video. I'm going to do this and see, ladies and gentlemen, we now have a fully functional piece of video from an Avid Animat in a whole different program. And as you can see, it has all of its animation and so on and so forth. So that's the process, and it works. This is the way we get alphas from Animat out of Avid Media Composer. But if you need to move on to QuickTime Animation, if your program does not support Apple ProRes, then watch the Shutter Encoder step that's coming next. So now we're in Shutter Encoder, which is a little program here. It's free of charge. Might want to send Paul Pacifico a few dollars though down here. So we're going to browse to that file we just created in Resolve, which is Big Globe Clean. We're going to open it up, and then we want to change where it's going to be saved. So we're going to change it here. To SH exports, Shutter exports. All right, so we selected the folder. We want to add a suffix to it. And we're going to call it alpha test. Okay, so then what we're going to do is use QuickTime Animation as our output, and once we're done, we hit this Start Function button, and it creates our file for us. Now it's time to do a little bit of a specialized case, and that's an Animat clip with a faded edge. So once again, we're going to drop the Animat effect down onto the top track here. But you may notice that previously this bottom track was turned off, so it went black, like this. Well, we actually have a blue background behind it, and there's a good reason for that. I'll show you in a minute. So we'll come back into here and we'll go back into our animate effect. And we'll do the usual thing where we add a circle to all of this. But we're going to have a faded effect, faded edge, so we want to have a lot of room to work with. Take a look here. All right. Well, we can make it bigger than that. About right there. So we want a faded edge on that globe. So in order to do that, let's swap the sources back. We're going to turn up the, we're going to take the bias first of all and take it all the way over to 0 so that the fade effect will be all the way on the outside. And then we bring up our fade a little bit here and you'll see it come up. And we don't want it to go too far, right about there. So now we punch out of the animate effect here so we don't see that the guide, and you can see now that what's happened is that the globe has now blended in with the blue background. And that's nice because in a way, because if you turn off the background like this, you're going to get a black ring around it like this on the edge. It takes up whatever the background is. So if we turn the blue background back on, you're going to get a darker blue circle around this. You can take it even further than this, of course. If we highlight this and go back into our media composer for a moment and go to image and drop a color correction effect onto this, and we take a look at it, of course. And we turn up the brightness. You can see that at some point it begins to almost blend in with the previous material. Adjust the hue just a little bit. Right about there. Right, okay, there you go. So now what we have is a light blue effect on the outside. This helps because it'll fill this in and you don't have that dark edge. You can also do some creative effects with this, of course. You can change the hue dramatically and have it be purple or red or whatever you want to do with it. And then you'd have a green edge or a red edge or orange edge. So we'll try to take it back about where it was before. Right there, right? Okay, I should have saved it. All right, so now you see that. What's the point to all of this? Well, you export these out in a variety of ways. Some with a red background, some with a black background, some with a dark blue background. And then you can create a variety of various types or variations of this exact thing, and then see which one looks best when it comes time to put it into your editing program. So we're going to export some of these out. So it's easy enough. Come back into here. And we're going to export that out as big globe fill light blue. Okay. Come back into this one. Change the hue to red. And come back into it here and export it out again. Export. And this is, I should have said fade on the other one. This is film fade red. Okay. Go back into it again. Change it to green. Export it out again. All you're doing is just giving yourself options here. So we export it out. This says fade red. Now it's fade green. So you get the idea. You have some options here. You can create a variety of backgrounds, and then you can see which one you like best. There is one more step before it gets into DaVinci Resolve, and that's to create the matte with a fade. So what do we do here? We turn off the bottom track, so it goes black. We step into the effect, go back to our bins here, bring the white background back in, step back into it, and now we have a matte with a fade. So we'll export that out. So now we have a matte with a fade, and we have a variety of fills with fades, and now it's really time to go off to DaVinci Resolve. So now we're going to test some of these various outputs to see how they do in Titler Pro, which is our program to test it with, and we have a box here that we can add video to. So we'll click on this, and the first one we'll do is the clean one. So you can see there it's nice and clean, you got those nice edges to it and so on. You can change it around and all the rest. I'll make it big so you can really see what's going on here. So now we'll change it to some of the ones that have the fade. Click here again, go to the black edge. See, it's a pretty prominent black edge here, and that's because of the background that it's fading into is black. Let's try some others. Here's the green edge. You can see now you can do some creative work with some of this stuff, but you may not want that. Here's light blue, and it fades in pretty good. You know, it's not bad. It's not too bad on the edges here. You can see on some of the definition a little bit better. So now we'll try red edge. Again, once again, it's a creative effect that you can do. And then the final one we do, which may be most effective at all, is to do a white edge. And you can see there that it actually blends in the best of all. So these are the various ways that you can, once again, we'll start with the clean one. You can output a nice animat segment from a clip in Media Composer, and using free programs, come up with videos that look like this that you can use in any other program. Enjoy!